Hi, Frank Lavario. In the last video, I talked about how sex and porn, how your drug in general, has been a problem-solving strategy. I mean, using watching porn, using your drug, how that has become a problem-solving strategy for you. And today I want to elaborate a bit on that, but today will be a different video than the other ones. Today I will not uh, tell you so much what you should do, but today is 15, I think, 15 questions that I've prepared, and I will not give you the answer. In the Lavario programs, we have a textbook and then we have an exercise book. And you need both, to really get over your addiction and heal. And the exercise books contain hundreds of exercises, but also tips and many questions, answers. Uh, and I picked some of these questions. And I want you to start thinking about them. I will not give you any answers, just the questions. And take some time and see whether they can be helpful to you or not. So hopefully I will give you some inspiration. Think the following. When you started with the Lavario program, if you did, or at least when you started watching the videos here from Lavario, it was not your first trial to get away from the addiction. You probably tried for 100 times to break your bad habits, whether that was porn or gambling or drinking or whatever. You potentially made numerous attempts to rid yourself of this behavior, in which you fought alone or simply read books about your addiction, and every time you probably came to a failure point and eventually gave up. So let's look at these at your story, at your past, with a number of questions. First of all, please write down all the times that you tried to get away from your addiction. Go back in time as far as you can. Also, take note of what you did each time to win the fight. So, which were your approaches? Second question, why did these attempts fail? What were some of the reasons that they did not work? How did you feel when your attempts failed? And what was your reaction to those feelings? Third question is, was your main concern in your addictive behavior, or did you try to find the reasons for your addiction? Now, I rephrase that. Did you only, when you tried to get away, did you only look at your behavior, your symptoms, thinking, okay, from today on, I will not drink anymore, I will not watch porn anymore, I will not go to these online gambling sites anymore? Or did you also in parallel try to find out why you show this addictive behavior? What is the trigger behind? What are the reasons behind? So try to remember all the times that you wrote down before, and now try to think of how you dealt with those attempts. The fourth question is, an important insight that many people gain at this point is that you do not get anywhere being tough on yourself. You only develop by giving yourself some support and understanding. The question now is, can you agree to this last statement? And if you can, what does that mean for your life as of today? What can you change in your attitude and belief towards yourself? How far are you willing to go to change how you behave? It's a very open question. I will not give you any answers to that. Think about it. And number 5, do you believe you ever had a chance to get out of your addiction without external help? Like without the help of these videos or a psychotherapist somewhere in your city? Did you put up a brave fight that turned out poorly in the end? Would you achieve sustainable success if you had a stronger will? What would this entail? Question number 6. What do you think about the fact that all these fights that you were fighting were necessary to get to this point, to reach this point that you are now, where you're looking for external help through this video or somewhere else? Would you or anyone in your situation would have asked for help from outside before? Did you try to solve the problem alone? Or did you already look for help in the past? That's also a question on just, on widening your horizon, I think. That's how you could put it. Makes you think about a lot of things. The more you can drag to the surface, the more you get aware of your whole problem-solving strategy, if you like, the more it can help you taking the next step forward. The 7th question is, you tried to get away from your addiction and have not given up. What positive things does this say about your character? That's a critical point. Maybe I should say something about it now. I mean, think about it. You tried so many times to get away from your addiction. At the same time, you feel, probably most of you at least, you are so ashamed, you feel so bad, so guilty. But then think about it. So much positive energy in you. You try and try and try to get away from it. Think about what that really reveals about yourself. There's something extremely good inside you. You're just missing some of the tools to get away from your addiction. But you have all the good intentions. So please stop feeling bad and guilty and ashamed. Get out of this negative cycle. Because the more you feel bad and ashamed and guilty, the more you show addictive behavior to soothe the pain, to feel better in the short term. Yeah, and then you feel bad again afterwards. So that's a vicious cycle. I say more about it. I prepared something on that, and that is number 8. So after looking at what you have written down, do you have the right to feel like a loser or like a weak person? Is it logical to feel weak or bad if you have always get up and try again? Rather, is there not an incredibly positive energy within you that strives for freedom? Is there not a strong energy that wants the treasure life life can offer, right? And the wealth of great new opportunities that lie ahead in the future. It takes some external support, like this program, or these videos at least, to realize these opportunities. There are many people, no matter what their background, living under sad and dissatisfactory conditions. But in sharp contrast to you, they do not do anything about it and just sit on their couch all day feeling sorry for themselves. Yeah? But not you. You are trying to get out of it. So please write down at least 5 positive things about yourself now. And on top of that, this may be hard for some of you, but think about everything and also write 5 positive things about your addiction. And imagine maybe one day when you overcome your addiction, what positive things you will have learned from the addiction and from overcoming the addiction. Question number 9. Go back in time to your first sexual experiences in case of porn addiction. When exactly did that happen? What happened? How did it feel? Can you still remember what you were thinking back then? Some of your first sexual experience might have been masturbating or watching others kiss intimately, partaking in sexual foreplay, being touched or sexually abused, finding the porn collection at your parents' house, and so on. So do not just refer to the first time that you actually had sexual intercourse, but rather any sexual experience. Number 10. What were your subsequent sexual experiences? after what you write down now, after what you wrote down now in 9. So how did it continue up until today? 11. When did you first think that your sexual behavior was not normal? When did you start suspecting that porn or sex became a type of drug? When did you say to yourself, what has changed compared to before? Re-examining now, could the addiction possibly have begun at an even earlier point, but you did not notice it until later or until now? Number 12. Now, please remember about the time in which you were just writing. The time that you were writing before in number 11. The first time you thought that sex may have become a problem or an addiction. How did you use sex or porn at that time? Did you ever feel tension or pain that you could not ease? Did you have feelings of inferiority that you wanted to cover or compensate by masturbating or by conquering one guy or girl after another to make yourself feel better? What problems in your life did you try to solve through watching porn, masturbating, sex? Think especially in terms of parents, sisters, brothers, mentors, idols, high school, college jobs, and even your leisure time. We all do things for a certain reason. That is human nature. And what was the reason that turned you towards porn and sex? 3 more questions. 13. So look at the one before again. That's number 12. And look at your answers again. This time, however, put yourself in the shoe of the adolescent or the little child that you were back then when your whole problem started, when your behavior started. Under which circumstances did you live? Avoid looking back at the days with the maturity and wisdom that you have today. Look at how you felt back then without the wisdom of today. What worries and fears did you carry back then? What were the limitations in your life back then? Why did you use porn, sex as a means to escape reality? What positive effects did that have on you? If these acts did not have positive effects, why did you do it repeatedly? They must have had some positive effects. Is there any behavior that gives you similar positive effects? And please answer this last question, not with the wisdom of today, but looking back at how you felt back then again. So with the tools and resources you had back then, could you behave differently back then? Number 14. No, that's number 15 now. So, no, it's number 14, sorry. If you could travel through time and take today's wisdom and experience with you, what would you advise the young boy or girl that you were back then, or teenager, young woman, that you were in the past? And let us call this the inner child. That's a concept that is used heavily in the Lavario program and in many other therapies as well. So which advice could you give to the inner child with your today's knowledge? What would you do differently? Other than porn or sex, would there have been a better solution to your problems of the past? So in the question before, you looked at it from the resources and tools you had back then. But in this question now, you as an adult, you go back to those situations and stand next to the little child that you have been back then, or the teenager. And now you imagine that you give advice to that inner child. And what could they have done differently? And again, I don't want to give you any answers or more tips and more advice on that one. I would like to provoke you at this point to think about it yourself and then in the program or whatever, you get you get tons of answers. But even there, I mean, the main part is you need to think about it and come to drag things from the past to the surface and come to new conclusions. Number 15, and then I stop it for this video, it's 15 minutes already. Did your inner child or inner adolescent or inner young adult act in a mean way or with bad intentions when watching porn or using sex? If the answer is no, if you say no, there was no bad intention, then can you feel understanding and compassion for your inner child? Was your inner child guilty of everything that happened during the subsequent years? Or were there some good reasons for things happening the way that they did? And please realize that you are not only the person that you physically see today. Everything from your past still has a strong influence on what you think, feel, and do currently. In other words, everything you were in the past is still within you today. Only when you forgive yourself for the mistakes that you made back then, which may not even have been mistakes, looking back at them, with today's knowledge, you unlock one of the conditions to getting over your addiction and finding peace within yourself. Forgiveness towards yourself. By understanding, by realizing, by growing, that's an extremely important concept. You need to forgive yourself and also others, but let's make another video on forgiveness. But the last thing I would like to ask you at this point is write down some thoughts about it. Really think about it, whether you are really to blame or not, right? And think about how you could treat yourself in a nicer way as of today. Yeah, so this video today was very different to the other ones. Maybe you don't get anything out of this one, but maybe you find some great insights, especially if you really work with these questions. It's easy now to switch off and do something else. But no, try really to take an hour or two and go through these questions again and think about it and write down things. And sometimes it opens your eyes and you get deeper into the whole problem solving, call it. Good. Maybe see you next time for another video. And then I promise it will be more practical also. With more answers, more solutions. Thanks for your attention. Bye-bye.